I grew up in Nigeria in a patriarchal society that uses culture and religion as justifications for gender inequality. At the age of 15, at my dad's retirement party, the hired comedian kept making jokes about how attractive I was and how he wanted to marry me. This man, who looks like he was probably in his late 30s, was publicly making advances towards me, a 15-year-old. I felt very embarrassed. This was my dad's event, and here I was, an event that was meant to be honoring him, and here I was drawing this source of attention to myself. This is a picture of me, by the way, with my cousin on the day of the event. I looked over at my dad and I could tell he was uncomfortable. That night when we got home, he made it very clear that he didn't want me using makeup anymore. I was confused. I was only a 15-year-old fascinated by beauty products. I had no makeup of my own, so I always found myself rummaging through my mother's makeup bag and experimenting, because I think my mom is one of, if not the most beautiful woman, and I wanted to look just like her. So I was confused as to why my dad was scolding me when the real problem was with the middle-aged man who thought it was okay to be publicly making advances at a teenage girl and in front of her own parents. This was one of the many experiences I had growing up with sexual objectification. At the age of 16, my rebelling stage, I cut my hair out of frustration of constantly being told how to look. I did a bad job because I'm not a hairstylist. I did feel liberated though, so I decided to take a stroll around our neighborhood. While strolling, these two guys kept catcalling me. These two men kept catcalling me. And there was a lady close by who was mowing her lawn, and I noticed she didn't say anything. I recall feeling very, very embarrassed and scared. To my surprise, this lady called me over and said, "Why wouldn't they be catcalling you when you're asking for it in that outfit?" Wow. So, once again, it was my fault. The low-cut hair and makeup-free face wasn't enough. So I decided to start dressing conservatively. Maybe that would solve the problem. As you've already guessed, it didn't. The message was clear. I was inherently guilty for how I looked. I was guilty for being female. It was never about the predators. It was always about me. Being someone who upholds the value of control, it was heartbreaking for me to come to terms with the fact that I had no control in my environment, not even of my own body. Do you know what was surprising though, and what was also very funny? The same society that shames and punishes women for meeting its beauty standards is the same society that shames women, unattractive women who do not meet these standards, because my unattractive look eventually became a problem. My family members started telling me that if I didn't do something about my outward appearance, I would never find a husband. In Africa and many other parts of the world, culture emphasizes that marriage is the pinnacle of success for a woman. And how did you attain that success? It's through beauty, because beauty is what attracts most African men to an African woman at first, at least enough for him to put a ring on it. In the south of Nigeria, where I'm from, there's an ancient practice called the fattening room, where women are prepared for womanhood and marriage. They're kept in a room and not allowed to have any contact with the outside world. They're fed and they're pampered, because being fleshy and having fair skin were viewed as signs of beauty, fertility, and prosperity. Wow. We have succeeded in cultivating a culture that constantly reminds us women that our bodies are not for us, but for the desires of men. And yet, we wonder why sexual assault is so prevalent in our society. According to RAINN, every 98 seconds, an American is sexually assaulted. Do you know what that means? That means that throughout the time that you have been listening to my talk, at least 4 people have been sexually assaulted. 1 out of 6 women in the United States has been a victim of an attempted or completed rape in her lifetime. Look around you. Now think of those stats. The city police statistics show that in Philadelphia alone, 1,100 rape cases were reported last year. This is why I support the Me Too movement. The Me Too movement has empowered women around the world, including myself. It has reminded us that we have voices, victim blaming is never okay, and sexual predators should be held accountable for their actions. I wish this was something I knew growing up. I wish I knew that all the experiences I had weren't my fault. Maybe then I wouldn't have lost my self-identity and self-esteem that I'm gradually regaining. I support the Me Too movement, and I think each and every one of us here should support the movement as well. Visit www.metoombmt.org to join the movement and end sexual violence. Our voices together, if we raise our voices together, we have the power to deafen the silence. Thank you.